Welcome to It's Not Really About Dance, a podcast on all the things we're learning about raising healthy, happy, and wholesome kids and teenagers in today's world through the context of competitive dance. I'm Beth.
And I'm Sarah, and we believe that competitive kids activities are about way more than performance or awards. They're about teaching resilience, humility, confidence, and heart. Each episode will use the context of dance to dive into real talk, practical tips, and stories to inspire you to parent with purpose.
Hi guys, it's Beth. I just wanted to jump on and share with you that we are going to be doing a little something different with this episode. So as Sarah and I started having our conversation about what a weekend event is like for us, we realized that we had a lot to say. There's just a lot going on all the way from the week leading up to an event through the being there at the event. And so we've decided to split this episode into two parts. So today you're going to be hearing our conversation about the week leading up to all the way up until arrival at the event that we would attend. And then we are not going to wait 2 weeks to release another episode, but we are going to share part 2 of this conversation next week. So our in-between week of our bi-weekly rotation. And you'll hear all about what it's like for us as parents being on the ground through the entire weekend of an event and all the things that we are doing with our kids. So for today, we hope that you enjoy listening to our first half of the conversation about the week leading up to being at an event. Here we go. Hey, Sarah. How's it going?
Hey, Beth. Things are going great. How about you?
Pretty good. I feel like, we're easing into a new year and it's just a little bit of a slower feel these days. So it's kind of nice.
Yes, we have kind of gotten settled back into our routine. So I like routine. Everybody at my house does. So that is good. When we have too much together time over breaks, people's activity of choice becomes fighting. So that is gone now for the most part.
That's good. So today we are now in kind of the second round of cycling through our different types of episodes.
Yeah, this is episode 10.
Yes. So this one is going to be another iteration of the Competitive Dance 101 series. So if you didn't get to hear our first one in this series, episode 6, highly recommend you go back and check that out. That one gives just a really basic primer of what are the different types of competitive events. And so it'll give you a very baseline level. But today, we're going to be kind of going into another phase of it. So these in this series are designed really for people who don't know this world that we live in, to kind of help you understand all that we're talking about when we reference being at competitions and conventions. So you kind of know what it all means. And so people that are not at all involved in competitive dance who listen to us will probably really enjoy understanding more from these. Or maybe you're new, your kid just started doing this and you kind of want to prepare yourself for what's ahead. That might be a good chance to listen to these. Or even people who are living the same life as us. We hope that you listen to these and just laugh with us and feel seen and appreciate that somebody else understands in your life.
Yes, I'm sure a lot of this is universal.
But today we're going to take an angle of telling just what a weekend at a dance competition is like. We really kind of want to take the angle of the different players who are involved. So this is not going to be us outlining what you see on the schedule and what those things mean, because people will tell you that. We want to give the angle of what's happening while this event is running. What are different people doing? And particularly our perspective as parents, what are we doing this whole weekend? And even leading up to the weekend as it's all going on, a little bit of a behind the scenes, all the different people involved. So we hope this one's going to be kind of fun. Looking forward to it. And I will say, we're just going to kind of set a baseline that the whole time we're talking today, we're going to assume we are talking about a convention with competition. So it's one of those all in weekends where kids are coming and bringing routines to compete, but they're also taking dance classes all weekend long with nationally recognized choreographers, dancers, instructors, basically semi famous dance people are teaching their classes throughout the weekend, and they're doing all the things. So if you go to something that's just a competition only and doesn't have that, some parts of what we're talking about will be there and others won't. It's easier to trim down, or if you're going to one of those events that's like a 1 day classes only thing, you would do a portion of this, but it's just easier instead of us naming all the different qualifiers as we go. We're just going to say, for the purposes of this conversation, we are at a convention with competition. And we probably will use the words competition or convention interchangeably as we talk because that's just what we do. But just know we're talking about the same thing the whole time.
Yep.
Good.
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay, so we're gonna progress through the entire week of an event starting the weekend before. So let's have Sarah, if you want to start us off, tell us about what the weekend before a competition convention is for you. What does that look like?
So this is when I try to think ahead of all the things that I'm going to need and do because as the weekend approaches, I mean, we've said before we both work full-time jobs, so I try to take the weekend before to prep as much as I can. Usually by then we have our schedule for the weekend, meaning we know what of the convention classes they're taking at what times of the day, what time their lunch break is going to land, what their call times are and what days of the weekend they're competing, whether that's Saturday or Sunday, and if we have any quick changes between dances, that kind of thing. So the first thing that I do, and I know a lot of other dance mom friends think that I'm insane for this, but Beth, I know that you do it too. So we find this helpful because we are organizers and planners. But I take our schedule and I make a almost hourly to down to the minute plan for the weekend as far as who has to be where, when, with what things, meaning like what costume do they need at what time and what shoes and what accessories and hair pieces and what shoes do they need for these convention classes. And I plan out, what time are we waking up that morning? When are people eating and what are they eating? And I try to just think through all of those things and I type it out from the minute we arrive, even sometimes like what time we need to leave our house, because we have said this before, but we travel most of the time for our competition events, usually a few hours away. So I try to plan it down to what time are we leaving, depending on what time we need to be there. If there's stuff happening on Friday night, we have to be there. So that's the first thing I do is I plan all our weekend out down to the minute sometimes. The next thing that I do is I try to plan what we're gonna eat. I'm sure we could do a whole podcast episode about
Oh, we will.
food. We try to save money by not eating out for absolutely every meal, and again, if you've listened to our past episodes, I know we've talked about how sometimes food at a restaurant may not be convenient or readily available at these weekends, so I try to bring as much stuff with me as I can that we can just quickly grab in the room. And if there's anything that I need to prep or make ahead of time, I go ahead and do that the weekend before if I can. If it's something that will keep that long or if I can put it in the freezer, but I at least plan it out, go to the grocery store and get our food stuff squared away. The next thing that I do is I start pulling out costumes. If it's our first competition of the year, I make sure that I know what costume goes with what dance because I don't always pay great attention to that beforehand. They give us the costumes and I just kind of stick them in the closet and forget about them until it's time. So I pull the costumes out, make sure I have them all organized. We have one of those giant dance duffel bag things that pops up and has the hanging rack and we put all the clothes on there. So I kind of start loading stuff into that ahead of time as I'm looking at the weekend and just making sure we have everything together. So it's mostly just planning and organizing all of our stuff is what happens the weekend before. It sounds like a lot, but I can usually get it done in a few hours. What about you? Anything different that I don't do?
It's very similar. So, yes, once we get that schedule, I make the personal schedule for our family, which is insane. Like, I show this to people sometimes. You know what I want to do? We should probably do this. I can blurb out my kids' names and put a sample one on Instagram.
Yes, I did this for Nutcracker weekend too. It's so
Because
helpful.
if you're not familiar, you would, like, fall over if you saw how detailed it is, like, especially a Saturday, like, the Saturday. I usually just plan the Saturday, like, we can do the Friday and the Sunday without that thing, but the Saturday has to the minute because I have to piece together, when am I gonna do this kid's hair if this other kid has to already be on the stage competing? I don't wanna miss watching them when my other kid's call time is like 15 minutes later. But especially if it's the younger one that has to compete later, they usually only have a couple routines, and those kids like show up super early, fully ready. And my kid's the one still running around in sweats with nothing ready. So I have to have something to show them, be like, I did not forget about you. I'm going to get to you. It also is good to give to my husband if he's with us for the weekend so that he kind of knows where I'm going to be and what I'm going to be
Mhm,
doing and how he can help. Because, like, I even mark on there, like, this kid needs to eat at this time, or
mhm.
this kid needs to go back and take a shower at this time so that they can make it back to be able to watch their sister compete. So,
It does add another layer when you have multiple kids dancing that I think for both of us makes it a little bit more complicated than if you just had one kid involved.
yes, when I mean, with one kid, you don't really need that, but it is a puzzle, and that's something that I think you'll even find as we go through this conversation. I think listening to Sarah and um, I have another kid than she
Mhm.
does,
That makes it extra complicated even beyond what I deal with.
and my older 2 are a step older than her too. So, all along in this process, my kids have kind of had maybe one or two extra routines than Sarah's kids because they're in, like, the little age group just slightly
Mhm,
ahead. So they like just are, it's like we're always doing an extra kid plus usually an extra
mhm,
routine or two than you guys
mhm.
are. Um,
Yeah, your total number of routines, even with more kids, I mean, that makes a huge difference too, just because you're trying to navigate more call times, more costumes, more hairstyles, more potential lipstick changes, all of that.
Yes. So and that, even you were talking about driving, like, you'll hear we often have to get there sooner than Sarah does because of just those kinds of layers going on. So it's very interesting. So yeah, so I get my schedule all typed up. Also, I learned this my first year. There was another mom who had printed the schedule given to us by our competition director and put it in a clear plastic sleeve that she shoved in her purse. It's like something about just not having to dig up on your phone every time you need. I mean, we use our phones for everything, but sometimes you just need to grab a piece of paper really fast and just look at the schedule. And
You can,
so
yeah, you
putting it in those clear sleeves
that's a good one.
just
I do
like
that
gives
too.
it durability. So it's not just shoved a piece of paper in your bag. So I have a competition weekend purse that's a bigger tote. I don't carry my crossbody around on those weekends. I need to have something that I can put that schedule in, a water bottle, maybe a snack, some band-aids, some safety pins. Like, I gotta layer extra stuff in that's like on me.
I take my crossbody and then stick it in that bigger purse. That way, if I need to just pull out the small thing. But you're right about that schedule in the plastic sleeve because a lot of competitions you can purchase a paper program there that are really nice. And I do buy those and I like to have them, but it's every routine. So hundreds and hundreds of them. And so it's hard to find where your kids' routines are. And our studio gives, the call times really cleanly on there. So it's nicer to have our printed version without having to look through a bunch of teeny tiny font.
I keep both. I stick that thing inside the program as soon as I get it and, like,
Mhm.
just walk around with them both. I like having all the things laid out. So I do that. I also inventory all of our makeup and our hair supplies the week before because we've mentioned before we live in a kind of suburban area. we're not in a huge city. So we have normal stuff like Target and Ulta and whatever, but we don't have a dancewear store in town and we don't have a whole lot of like options for different beauty supply places. So there are things we can't buy in town. If we are out of bun pins, of hair nets, of like undergarments to like, dance briefs and like nude leotards, I might be speaking a foreign language to you guys, but the kinds of things that are a little more specialized to the dance world, we can't just go to the store and get those. So I need to know in advance if I need to order them from
Mhm.
Amazon. So I work through all that the weekend before, figure out, especially like if we just came off of like if we're doing back to back weekends. So like let's say we're the weekend before, it's Sunday, we're rolling in from one competition and we got to go to the next one the next week. What I'm going to do is like reorganized because the kids have just thrown everything. And even like the first of the year might be that. We got through Nutcracker and everything is just a hot mess. I discovered getting ready for Nutcracker this past month, I discovered that we had no bright red lipstick. And I was like, where did it all go? I remembered back. Our last event of the spring this past year, the kids had to recompete a routine on Sunday, and it was the little bitty ones. And people were borrowing our bright red lipstick. And then all the minis
Throw
went
that
down with
out.
the flu that week. So I immediately threw the red lipstick out. I mean, I know it's been like months and months and months, but I'm not a scientist. I was just not
Gross.
taking any
No, that is
chances.
an $8 lipstick. Buy a new one.
Yes. So, yeah. So we have to inventory like, what do we still have? What do we need? Order what we need, get it all organized. The dance bags, the caboodle, throw out old programs, old schedules that we don't need, whatever's growing in somebody's dance bag. If we're going to like an event the next weekend that's not going to do ballet, I kind of have to judge like, okay, I don't need us to bring our point shoes, but they bring their dance bags. So I like have to start thinking through like, do they have point this week at home? Yes, they do. So what day is that? And when
Mhm.
can I like pull the
Pull it
point
out.
shoes out? When can I, get everything ready for this bag to be used for next weekend? Um, that week before, I'm also often coaching a lot of the rookie dance parents. Like as we get emails and schedules, even as the season goes on, because every event is so different, a lot of times people will come to the first event of the year and they ask all the questions and they think they've learned how it works. And then the next event is set up very differently. The schedule's very different. The order or like how you have to piece your weekend together because of getting your kid ready compared with convention classes is different, and they thought they learned the system and it changed.
Well, and sometimes after we've been at one event, even something as small as we didn't like this hairstyle, so we're going to do a different hair for this same routine. And then that always like causes a little bit of confusion. Just everybody wanting to make sure they're on the same page if something like that has changed.
Sure. And this was for older ones, but last year we bought black lipstick for our routine and then never used it again. We used dark red the rest of the season. So stuff like that changes depending on how it all translates. But yeah, so coaching a lot. And that's the time I love to and I'm happy to coach those parents and
Mhm.
help them. When we're a week out, that's when everybody needs to be thinking about what they're doing.
Mhm.
The next Thursday and Friday, while I'm pulling up at the hotel and unloading my stuff, it's a lot harder for me to help people. But that weekend before, we do a lot of that. Yeah. Okay. So that's the weekend before. Now talking about like leading up the kind of Monday through Thursday going up to the event. So Monday and Tuesday, I kind of just go to work, but I'm also having to stay up to date on emails that are coming, so it's just like this layer that's kind of on top of your normal life for a couple days that you can't ignore because it's this looming thing that you're going to be doing the next week. So checking in on like things developing about how the weekend's going to look. You're hearing stuff from your studio. Maybe your kids are coming home from dance classes saying, "Oh, our teacher said that we're going to do this little tweak of something before this weekend." You got to kind of stay on top of all that because you might have to go buy some kind of product or equipment along the way. So being aware of that. Also, this is the time of the week to make sure to cancel any nights of the hotel room if you haven't already. I always book way far in advance for these comp weekends. And I'll go ahead and book just Thursday to Sunday, and then I'll trim down to the actual nights that we need. So I'm at that point, we've gotten our schedule, and usually like 2 to 3 days from arrival is when you have to make changes. So if
Mhm.
I've booked it to start Thursday, I got to make any changes by Tuesday,
Mhm.
or I'm going to get charged for those rooms. So I'm like making sure I have called the hotel and
It's a lot
gotten
of money on the line.
gotten that squared away, and then still just kinda checking in on parents that if especially if there's somebody around me that I know, like, has kinda, like, tethered themselves to me and is asking a lot of questions, then, like, I might just be proactive about some things too and just help them out with some things that I know apply to them and that they might not be thinking about. Wednesdays, my work schedule, I work from home typically on Wednesdays unless there's like a random meeting I have to go to. So I just kind of sit at my computer at home all day, but it gives me the flexibility to do some other stuff. So I usually get the laundry all going, like anything we need to pack. When I need brain breaks from work, I get up, I go hunt down all of our competition jackets because those are not replaceable. It is very specific to our team. They're required to wear them when they're in the competition room over their costumes. They're required to wear them on the stage during awards, and you have to have them. So I need to make sure that we know where those are, that anything they're wanting to pack for like all the in betweens we've located, that we haven't lost dance shoes in the last 2 days while they've been going to dance class, that they still need to bring this weekend, all that kind of stuff.
Something else that I do the week leading up, I forgot to say, when we have the schedule, both of my dancers like to know what convention classes they're taking at what times of each day. So I'll take that schedule and I'll type up a little cute graphic in Canva with their schedule on it. Just make it like a little small square and print it out and laminate it for them to keep in their dance bags so they know exactly what classes are coming when at what time on each day because they both like to know the plan. They do
Yeah.
much
Well, it's
better.
helpful because and sometimes the instructors are better than others about telling them which shoes to get out next. Like,
Mhm.
we learned that pretty early on. Like, my oldest has a friend who's the youngest in her family and has an older sister who dances and, like, always had that, and so my daughter was, like, always going to that friend, like, "What's next? What's
Yeah.
next?" So now we can pay it forward and be the people that have that.
I'll print multiple copies for each of them because I mean, it's just a little tiny thing. It makes no difference to print 6 on a page and just laminate those and tell them, like, "Pass these out to whoever wants them, so you guys have them." And now other moms have started doing it too, so it's helpful when they know what to expect.
And then Thursday is the day that our preteens and our teens turned into monsters in
Yes.
preparation for the weekend. All of a sudden, there's all these demands, a lot of feelings, a lot of emotions, and I don't even completely know why.
Even a simple question like, "Do you know where your jazz shoes are?" can result in a very snippy response.
Yes, it is like I most Thursdays before competition weekends, I threaten for us to quit everything.
Yes.
It's just how it goes. And I know that we will get through Thursday and tomorrow is going to be better. But sometimes I'm also trying to load the car because, again, this is something Sarah hasn't had to do a lot. But I've had a lot of times that my oldest has had to compete on Friday. Sometimes we have to be there by like noon on Friday. And we're going to a city that's like 2 hours away or more. And they're in full hair and makeup by noon. Sometimes we have a time change, ahead. So it's like your choice is to wake up at your house and do full hair and makeup at 5, 6 a.m. to not be at risk of like getting stuck in traffic and missing your call time. And everybody is stressed, or just go on Thursday and then everybody can sleep in Friday. So budget matters. Sometimes we can swing it more easily than others, but if we can do it and we're competing on Friday, we usually try to go ahead on Thursday. They're going to have to miss school regardless. So might as well just get where you need to go. So it's very common for me to have to drive after they get out of dance on Thursday night. And so we're rolling in, they get out of dance at 8 or something. So we're rolling in
Pretty
late,
late.
late Thursday night. But so, and they're doing school and dance classes. So if we're leaving on a Thursday, I have to do most of the packing alone. And so that's probably why we have battles. But I'm, getting everything together, getting everything packed, getting food lined up, getting like, if we're leaving after dance, it's like everybody's got to eat takeout on the road as we're driving. They're coming out hungry. So I got to go pick up food for them and that kind of thing. So that's what up to Thursday would kind of look like for me. If we're not leaving till later, then it's a little bit less of that. But yeah, what about you? Anything for the week leading up?
Yeah, I mean, because I work full time all week at school, I try to do as much as I can the weekend before when I just have the time and the brain space because, I come home from school and I'm mentally tired and it's hard to think about all of those things. But so the week up before, that's when I start like prepping food if there's something that needs to be a little bit fresher, if I need to make it, I'll kind of divvy up so I'm not doing everything all in one day. I'll look at, Monday to Thursday and kind of delegate myself a few little tasks each day that I need to complete to get us ready to go for the weekend. So whether that's prepping food, laundry stuff, making sure that my girls have picked out, whatever cute convention wear they want to wear to the classes and making sure that we have that. And to the side, as I'm doing laundry for the week, you kind of mentioned this, the in between, whatever clothes they want to wear, setting those to the side to make sure that they're not wearing those during the week and then telling me Thursday night that their blue airy shorts are dirty and they want to wear those over the weekend. Just kind of making sure that I just make little folded piles in their rooms of stuff that they have told me they want for them to pack themselves later as we get a little bit closer. Since I often don't have to leave until Friday, and with my job, I really just can't because I'm so limited in the number of personal days that I can take in a year. And I often like to use those days for vacation and not for dance competitions if I can avoid it because they would just get eaten up so quickly. So I really try not to take off work on a Friday if it is at all possible. Now, if we are driving more than 2 hours away and if there is a time change, or we have run into crazy things sometimes when we've competed in like January where there's a chance of snow and we do not live where it snows regularly. So our cars do not have snow tires and this is not a normal driving situation for us. So if there is some weird extenuating circumstance like that, I will take off on Friday so that I can leave town a little bit earlier. I have left town to beat snowstorms. I have left town to beat crazy thunderstorms that have come through. But I generally try to not leave before Friday after school if I can help it. But I don't like to get on the road where I'm going to hit 5 o'clock traffic in a big city either. I mean, I can drive in that, but I don't particularly enjoy that. So that's another time where I might leave, half day at work and check my kids out of school so we can get on the road and try to prevent hitting 5 o'clock traffic. But our studio often does a Wednesday before a competition dress rehearsal in the studio.
That's true. I forgot about that. I'm glad you're
Sometimes,
mentioning
yes,
this.
sometimes they wear costumes and sometimes they just come with full hair and makeup done and not the costumes, just kind of depending on what their competition director feels like they need to do leading up to it. So if they have like pulled stuff out of the dance bag that I have gotten organized the weekend before for this
Right.
practice.
That's where the battles come in also.
Yes. Yeah. And my own patience gets tested in that too, as I see them like, because that bag is gigantic. So it just sits in our living room the week before. And if I see them like rummaging through for a lipstick, I'm like, what are you doing? I have that all organized. Put it back. And then they're like, but I need it. And,
Especially if it's like they just wanted this liquid blush to wear to school.
yes, because I do buy nicer makeup for competition than I like will just buy for my teenager to wear to school. So she is often going into the dance bag to get the like fancy bronzer or whatever that she wants to wear to school. And then it does not get put back. So Wednesday night after dance, if it's not too late, or Thursday, I have to do one more sweep to make sure that all of the costumes, all of the accessories and things are back where they belong. I also try to do a quick little surface level steam of the costumes. I will do that again at the hotel on competition weekend because they get wrinkled up again. But if they are in just like really bad shape, both of my girls are bad about taking off a costume at a dress rehearsal and just stuffing it into their dance bag. So it may come back all like wadded up. I will do like a quick initial steam on Wednesday night or Thursday night before we pack them up. But I often will wait until Thursday night or even Friday. My husband is off on Fridays, and so sometimes I will leave him the list and I'll take his car to work that day and leave my car at home, and he will load the car for me while I'm at work while he's off on Fridays. So that's really helpful that way. As soon as we can leave on Friday, we're able to just jump in the car and go. So for Fridays, my kids have up to this point not had to compete on a Friday. I don't think at all. But sometimes at different conventions, they will have Friday classes that my girls want to take, especially my teenager. Or the biggest thing is that often the teen and senior solos compete on Friday nights. And so my girls want to go and be able to watch their older friends compete their solos. So if we are trying to get there, we don't live and die by what time somebody's solo goes on Friday. But if we're going to be there in a reasonable amount of time to go and watch them, we will do that and kind of make that our priority for the evening. We'll get to the hotel, we'll unload and get settled in and take a look at the schedule and see who we can go down and watch within reason. Sometimes those go really late, and Saturday on a convention weekend, they are often downstairs by 6:30 or 7 some mornings, really early mornings that are really long day. So I tend to not let my girls stay for awards. Most competitions have a live stream. So we'll go back up to the room and kind of get everybody settled and ready for bed. And we'll pull the live stream up on my laptop or an iPad or something and let them kind of watch and see how everybody placed and that kind of thing. If there are classes though that are either required or they are encouraged to go to, that's a situation in which I will maybe take off work and try to get there to give us a little bit of buffer time. My girls do not do well when they feel rushed. That makes them both more anxious.
Same for
It
us.
makes them both more irritable and no one is happy. So it is worth giving us some buffer time to get there and get settled and have some downtime for a minute before they have to be anywhere. Because even for the convention classes, my teenager especially, she'll want to do a slick back ponytail. She'll want to put some a little bit more makeup on than she might wear normally. So she needs a little bit of time to get herself ready physically and emotionally, like just kind of to prepare to go into this really busy weekend where they're on a lot of the time. So I do try to build in some buffer time.
And
Now,
both your 13-year-old and my 15-year-old, if they start getting texts that their friends are already there,
oh my gosh, the FOMO.
it's like drive as fast as you can. We have to get
Go
there.
90.
Right.
Yes, but such and such is already there. Okay, it's fine. But if we don't have anything pressing to be there for Friday, that is kind of the one night that I will allow us to, not that I don't allow us to be social other times, but if other people are kind of trickling in and arriving and there's not anything we need to be there for, if they want to go out to dinner with a friend or two, Friday night is the time that we do that. I mean, my teenager especially is so like motivated by what her friends are doing and where her friends are and is everyone hanging out without me kind of thing. So she does better if we can kind of front load the weekend. She tends to ask less on Sunday when we're tired and trying to leave. Like, can we go shopping with this friend? If we can kind of pre-schedule and she knows like you are going to have a time to hang out with some friends and do just some fun non-dance related stuff. So sometimes a Friday night restaurant dinner, if we don't have something else going on, is when we work that in.
It's so interesting you say that because I was going to share, like, we have very different perspectives on that. And I think it's kind of cool. Like, so with my kids, I've found that if we front load stimulation, it sets a tone for the whole weekend. So this is where like knowing your kids and your family is really important.
Yes.
So I tend to require my kids to have a very chill Friday. We like to arrive same things early as possible because then it allows for an easing in and
Hmm.
seeing the people and like all the things, but we're not trying to fill up our day and do all the things. So we do a lot of stuff like you were talking about. Like if we're not involved in those solos late at night, and especially later in the season. If it's the beginning of the season and they've never seen them compete, they want to go see those. And they want to go. I mean, my oldest wants to go for awards. Sometimes I will let her stay with another friend that, like, a family that only has one kid and they're her age and go watch awards. And I'll take the younger ones back and get them ready for bed and we'll pull up the live stream. And then my oldest will just, get delivered to my hotel room later. That's the beauty of staying in the hotel.
Yes.
It really makes a difference. But I have found that if we go and are with all the people doing all the things on Friday night, it just like they're already starting the weekend overstimulated and it
Hmm.
is going to be so much the next couple of
Yeah.
days.
My younger one is a little bit like that. So that's where it's beneficial if I have my husband or my mom come with me because then my younger daughter can just chill and not be overstimulated. She will hit a wall when she has had to people too much and she just can't anymore.
But they want to.
They want
That's what's so
to.
tricky.
But my older daughter is a true extrovert, and I have to just tell her up front, like, this is the time that we are going to be social and hang out with people. That way, she's not pestering me to death and constantly asking at a time that I have to say no. I like to be able to go ahead and let her know, like, when that is going to happen for the weekend. She likes an advance plan.
Okay, so yeah, for Friday for me, my favorite scenario, because Sarah, you referenced that your husband is off on Fridays. We work together. Our staff, we work for a church. So Sundays are obviously a big work day for us. So we work Monday through Thursday, and our weekend is Friday and Saturday. So this is part of why, like, in this dance competitive world, Sundays have always been tricky for me, and I have to strategize those days for being away from work. But Fridays are pretty amazing and lovely. And so, because it's a day off for me too, I love the scenario of going and getting there early and just being with my kids and kind of soaking it up slowly. So, my favorite scenario is actually if the schedule works for my kids to go off to school on Friday morning and I have some time to just get the car loaded. I have a certain way that I put everything in the car and it is the same every time. Like I could draw it for you. Like this is where the big rolling dance bag goes, and this is where each kid's suitcase goes, and this is where my caboodle goes, and this, yeah, I have a place for everything in the car. So I love to just have the morning to get everything packed on my own and then check the kids out from school like 12 or 1 p.m. when they've had like a half day of school. They got counted as present. Usually, if they had any tests or anything, they can get those taken care of in the morning. The best scenario is if they can go ahead and just eat lunch at school and I can just load them up and we can roll. But my older two, because their schools go later in middle and high school, like they tend to not have lunch till like 1 p.m. or something. So sometimes I have to have food for them. But yeah, to have everything like ready to go and then to get them and us go get where we need to get, it helps us beat the rush hour traffic. It helps us not have like a giant line checking into the hotel. We can, get our bearings if it's a new venue of like where things are. We'll go walk to the section of the convention center where like they've usually already got like pop up signs showing where the different age groups are going to go for classes so the kids can see where they're going to be in the next days. And yes, like you said, watching friends who are competing. If we're not, usually somebody is, and we can go watch. I mean, often we're driving, and my oldest will have her phone on the live stream
Yes, mine
and
does
be
this
like,
too.
they're on number
Yes.
271 and Susie Q, friend of mine, is number 293. Can we get there in 20 minutes? And it's like, well, we're not unloading the car then. We're just walking straight in. And then after we give them a hug, we're going to go get our stuff out of the car.
Yes.
So we do a lot of that kind of stuff. It's like when you go on vacation and you're like
Mhm.
arriving, getting all oriented. We do typically eat out on Friday. We try to get a good balanced meal on Friday night. We do not eat Chick-fil-A on Friday
Mhm.
night. We eat something that's like this is the last normal meal we're gonna have of the weekend. So if the kids have a convention class that they have to be at, then sometimes my husband and I will go out to dinner, just us. Or if he's not with me, because it's just the older ones and he's like home with my youngest, who sometimes she'll have a weekend that she's not competing and she doesn't come, I'll go with other dance parents and we'll like actually get like a leisurely adult meal while the kids are doing that, and we'll get takeout for the kids and bring it to them so that they can have a balanced meal. If they're competing that day, often they have to be there for awards and it's like a process. Like you can't really peel them away very easily. So in that case, we don't typically go actually physically out to eat, but we'll DoorDash something that is more balanced. I have one friend that comes and she always, in every town, she has found a favorite steakhouse and she will order delivery or go somebody send somebody to go pick up or whatever. They will get a, like, legit nice meal from, like, a steakhouse that they eat at, like, 10 p.m. when they're done with dance
Sometimes you just
awards.
need a treat when you know you've
Yes.
got a lot to do the next
Yes.
day.
I mean, my oldest loves kava, so even
Yes.
that is something like, I mean, it doesn't have to be expensive or
No.
fancy, but just something a little more balanced where you actually get some protein and some vegetables and, just balanced good meal that night, um, to gear for the weekend. Yeah, so we do that, but if there are, like, giant groups going to eat dinner, this is where I just tell my kids we're not doing that.
Now, yes, we don't do a
Like,
giant group.
we just need to not start the weekend super overstimulated or feeling like when you have a big group, you're waiting forever to get
Yes,
food.
we do
Like,
not do that.
we just need a slower pace on Fridays. And so we opt out of those kinds of things typically. So,
That is when if we do a friend dinner on Friday, that is when I kind of reach out to another mom who I know also her kids do not thrive in a super giant overstimulating kind of situation like that, and try to plan it a little bit ahead of time. "Hey, would you guys like to go to dinner with us?" And then we can kind of just do something a little bit more low key, but still social. And for me,
sure.
the big thing is, like you said, it's just time. It takes so long when there's a big group like that. And I'm a pretty big stickler about getting to bed at a reasonable time Friday night. So that's one of the biggest reasons why we don't do that.
Sure, with, like, 1 or 2 or 3 other
Hmm.
friends, I feel like that can be usually accomplished without it
Yes.
being crazy, and again, gives them one little social thing to, like, feel like, "This is fun, and we're
Hmm.
coming for the weekend," and that whole deal. So my kids sometimes wanna do different things because I have 3 of them, like, one is wanting to do a social dinner with a friend, and one is wanting to go watch routines compete, and so I do sometimes have to, like, split my kids up, like, let another parent take one of my kids if it's like, yes, that just makes sense, it's reasonable for them, and if they were the only ones here, I would be doing that thing with them, but
Hmm.
because I have 3, we can't go all the directions, so we sometimes do that. But yeah, so that's all assuming we're similar to y'all. If we have to compete on Friday, though, it is a totally different world. So we are going to wrap part 1 of this conversation up right there, friends. And you can listen to our what it's really about, and then we will continue on with part 2 of the conversation in next week's episode. So hope you've enjoyed this. Yes. So let's try to wrap it up with our usual question. So since it's not really about dance, Sarah, what is it about for you right now?
Well, as we're recording this, it's right at the new year. So for me, it is about putting a vegetable in my body this week, because I feel like we are coming off the gauntlet of all the family gatherings and stuff, and we've just eaten such junk food lately, and I'm just like feeling yuck, and I know that my family probably is too. So my goal this week is to go to the grocery store and buy us some healthy foods and eat something green so that we do not die.
I love it. Perfect.
That's
We
what's
can
it
we
about
can
for
all do
you.
that. Yeah. I think for me, like I've been a little bit not sure what to do with the fact that our dance competition season is later this
It's
year.
weird.
Like, typically, we start in, like, November and we're done early March or maybe late March at the latest. This year, we're kind of starting in March. It's, like, all March and April.
Hmm.
So different. And so usually January, February is like peak competition season. And so we're usually like, even last year, we came off of Christmas and like 4 days later, we're leaving to go to a further distance competition. We did one that was a little further away because it was over Christmas break. And I loved it so much. It was one of my favorite ones we've ever done because it was like everybody was slowed down on Christmas break and we love dance conventions. And so going and doing all that then was just a blast. This year, so I've been kind of like, wah, wah, about it being later and not coming off of Christmas and like going into dance competition season right away. But now I'm realizing how it has slowed our pace down as a
Hmm.
family. And I mean, we have cleaned closets out and like decluttered things and just like spent time together. And because we're not like running around like, do you have all the dance things?
Right.
So just loving the blessing of changes in rhythms,
Yeah.
like that every year doesn't have to be the same. And I think that makes us appreciate things more when it's not always the same.
Yes.
It's not that I wouldn't want to go back to doing it earlier because I enjoyed that, but
It's
this
different.
just gives us a
Yeah.
different focus. And I rearranged the way my spring at work looks because of this. Some things that I have always been in charge of and I've pushed till later, closer to Easter, because I didn't have time during January and February
Yeah.
that like I can do this year. So it's kind of cool. I'm
Yeah,
enjoying
my
it.
husband and I bought tickets to a concert that this artist comes through near our area about this time every year, and it almost always lands on a competition weekend, and we're not able to go, but this year, we were able to do it, so it's been cool in a lot of ways, even though I was kinda sad about it initially.
Now, when we come back in March and April,
We will be crazy people.
we are probably not going to be talking about it's just going to be nuts.
It will.
But right now, it's nice.
But I'm thinking once we're in that mode, it'll be okay.
Sure. Yeah, totally. Cool. Okay, well, I guess that is it for today. Please, if you are enjoying these, subscribe on whatever platform you use. That way, when these drop every other Wednesday, they will come right into your feed and you'll know that we've got a new episode up to check out. Share it with a friend if you think they would find this interesting or fun or encouraging. And follow us on Instagram, Not Really About Dance. Also, you can email us, notreallyaboutdance@gmail.com, if you have any comments, questions, ideas for future episodes, things that you want us to dig into more. We would love to hear from you. And we will be back with our next episode, another one in that Caring for Your Own Heart series. And we are going to be talking about rhythms of rest and work for you.
Yeah, I'm
So,
excited about that one. Thanks for listening, friends, and we'll see you next time.
bye.